Hey Raghunath, tell everyone about our Patreon community.
Sure, Kaustubha. The Wisdom of the Sages Patreon community is an incredible online yoga resource. If you like the type of yoga wisdom and culture we share on the show, then our Patreon community is a great next step. This is a listener-supported podcast, and any level of sponsorship will unlock a wide range of live and archived classes, talks, and even workshops.
Raghunath teaches, I teach, and we have a host of other excellent teachers on topics ranging from yoga philosophy, asana classes, storytelling, Ayurveda, kirtan, cooking, meditation, and a lot more.
We even have an incredible online Bhakti 12-step recovery group.
So if you want to check it out, go to patreon.com/Wisdom of the Sages.
All right, let's get it on.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Live from Cana, New York. Beautiful Cana, New York. This is Wisdom of the Sages, a daily yoga podcast with your host, Raghunath, and co-host and senior educator at the Bhakti Center in New York City, Kaustubha Das. Welcome to the show. Welcome to the Srimad Bhagavatam, the book, the essence of all Vedic literature, because it tells you how to live yoga. Not just how to do yoga, how to live yoga. And that word gets thrown around a lot, how to live your yoga. It's already figured out, people. The nut's already been cracked. The Bhagavatam gives those answers. And today we're diving into the essence, which is sort of what the Bhagavatam is anyway. But essential ways to live, or digging through all the fluff to get to the core, the center, and how to apply that to life. You know, I wanted to mention, Kaustubha, that we are having a contest, and if anybody forget, Silver Tulsi Mala, silvertulasimala.com is doing a giveaway for Wisdom of the Sages. If you can tell us a Krishna miracle that's happened to you, just like I just had this one that happened to me. I was about to call Tomas, and there he is on my Zoom feed today. I haven't seen the guy in months, hasn't been on Zoom in months, and here he is today. Look at me in the face. I call that a Krishna miracle because I was trying to call him yesterday.
That may have been a Krishna miracle, but I don't think it's going to win you the Tulsi Mala.
It's not going to. Okay, listen, if you got, then you got to write in and tell us your Krishna miracle. Write to Mara at wisdomofthesages108@gmail.com. Some miracle that's happened in your life, some magic that happened, some mystical thing. You've all got a story.
When do we choose the winner? Like for Monday, next Monday or something like that?
Well, we're going to get them in Friday, and we'll choose on Monday. Get your Krishna miracles in by Friday. All right. Is this guy really going to hedge clip next to me right now at 8 o'clock in the morning? Can you hear that?
Yeah, but it's okay.
It's okay? All right, good. It's annoying on this
weird.
side. I have to become tolerant.
All right.
Jeez, I'm going to take this thing in the car.
So write your Krishna miracles into wisdomofthesages108@gmail.com, and you may win the Tulsi Mala. And also, if you want like a discount, isn't there a code for that or something like that?
Yeah, if you want to buy some, check out his website, Tulasi Mala, TULASI Mala.com. Mara put it up on the board. And on checkout, if you like something on checkout, write Wisdom 108. That's the checkout code. Or the
checkout code. Gotcha.
What's it called?
I don't know.
Mara?
Discount
code. That's the discount code. Wisdom 108. Make sure I put the right one in. Bhakti Justin, my loving assistant, who was great on the show yesterday, wasn't he?
Yeah.
He had this great realization this morning. Like, at one point in his spiritual life, he was on a spiritual path, but he was still drinking alcohol. Then he gave up alcohol, and there was like, it took him to a next level. He felt like, you know what? I'm on a spiritual path. I'm drinking alcohol, but there's a lull. It was like a weight. I'm like the bird can't fly. The takeoff can't fully happen with that alcohol. And they felt like, I got to let go of it. And now he's feeling like he was feeling some high. He's feeling some bliss. He's feeling some joy. And then there's a lull again. So he started going through his little life and his little brain and his little daily habits. And he realized, I caught him with a TV show that he watches on a regular basis. And I was like, well, what is it? Some spiritual TV show? And he's like, nah, It's sort of something about a disturbed mother and daughter who's, what's the name of it? The Act.
The Act.
Yeah, Handmaid's Tale. What's it called? The Handmaid's Tale. He said that was bringing him way down. So a lot of times so we just analyze and we're like, you know what? There's certain things that Krishna is constantly purifying us and saying, hey, you want to taste that sweetness, you got to let go of the bitter. And there's a lot of bitter things. Huh?
I like the way that's an interesting way. It's like, just like in the Bhagavatam, where like in the beginning, I think 5th chapter, you have Vyasadeva and he's feeling some kind of lull, right? He's like, I don't feel, I'm trying to dedicate myself. I'm working hard. I'm trying to serve, but things aren't just, it indicates something is not right. We need to make an adjustment.
Are you saying Bhakti Justin's an incarnation of Srila Vyasadeva himself?
No.
Yeah, but we all go through these things. We go through these things, and this is the exact same thing that Vyasadeva went through, and that's actually an incredible insight, Kaustubha.
Well, when you have that lull, the point is you don't just like accept it. Then okay, that's the point where you got to make a change, and where it might require some deeper commitment, some greater sense of renunciation, letting go of something. And the fear is, but when I let it go, what am I going to do with that time? How am I going to be? And life is going to get challenging at that point.
That is the
right,
fork. That's the fork, man. We're
but the
going
fact
to
is, when you get to the other side, you realize you're actually happier on the other side. Right?
Sure.
Life gets more real. It gets more meaningful on the other side of that.
Sure. And I think we're going to hit those forks like in seasons, monthly, in the course of a day. We're going to be asked, what do we want? What do you want? What are you going to choose? You know, the bhakti thing, what I'm realizing is it's like a current, like a river. You don't want to swim up the river. You want to go with the flow of the river, and it's natural. And you see bhakti in children. Anyone who's getting into bhakti and they have kids love bhakti. They love to pick flowers and offer flowers. They love to dance in kirtan. They like to dress up for the deities. They like to dance. It's almost like so specifically designed for kirtans. The songs are singy-songy. They like to chant them. They like mantras. You know, the problem is...
What's the problem?
It is so easy. It is going with the flow. We're just on the wrong river sometimes. We're on the wrong river, and the current's taking us to crazy places. So when we get into when we start to embrace these principles, it actually is easy. It's actually easier. But I'm just so damn attached. And there, in that attachment, that's the wrong river. And look where they take us. Look where that crazy TV show is going to take you, Bhakti Justin. It's going to take you to hell on earth.
Well, you know, Raghunath, this all kind of ties into our theme today because, you know what we're going to talk about today? It's culture, right? The effect that culture has on you. And so, you know, this is, you know, look at our culture. Where does it take our mind? How does it reshape our mind, you know? I'm looking forward to today's reading.
Yeah. By the way, we're going to Italy. We're going to put that out.
I hear that it's half sold out already.
It's half sold out already. If you're interested in going to Italy, we've arranged this great place where you're in an ashram, Villa Vrindavan. It's this ashram just south or west or something, just outside of Florence. So it's
like 10 kilometers only.
Yeah, I don't know what it is, but
that's what I heard.
There's public transportation we take to get into Florence. Florence is a pain to park in, and it's going to be great. And we're going to get to yoga stuff, hearing and chanting, kirtan. It happens to be Krishna's appearance day. It's a great, if you're a Wisdom of the Sages listener, great way to, and suppose you got a partner that's not into bhakti, you can say, hey, how would you like to go to Italy? You can take them to Italy, like, wait a second. This is a Wisdom of the Sages retreat. You can do that. You can change them up when you get there. Do the old 1-2 on them. Right, Mara?
Don't do that.
How do you like a romantic time in an ashram in Italy?
Tuscany.
Anyway. All right, so let's get into Srimad Bhagavatam. We're talking about the essence today. And there's a guy power washing the house next to me. I think I'm going to have to bring this party back inside.
We don't hear it. It sounds good.
You don't hear it? Okay, good.
Yeah.
Okay.
Ready?
Here's the magic codes. Narayanam namaskritya naram chaiva narotamam devim sarasvatim vyasam tato jayam mudirayet. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is our very means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisances to the Supreme Lord Narayan, unto Narayan Rishi, the supermost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and to Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Nasta prayesha badreshu nityam bhagavat sevaya bhagavati uttamasloke bhakti or bhavati naishtaki. By regular attendance in classes in the Bhagavatam and by rendering service to the pure devotee, all that is troublesome in the heart will become completely eradicated. In loving service to the Supreme Lord, whose praise with transcendental songs will be established as an irrevocable fact. Om Jnana Tamarandasya Jnananjana Salakaya Chakshurun Mandatam Yena Tasmaye Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkness of ignorance, and my teachers are assisting me in opening my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my obeisances to their lotus-like feet. By the way, I'm going to be in all-day workshop. And you want to hang out with me all weekend? Philadelphia, put on by Pablo Santo in Philly.
How
We're
does
doing
that
it all
affect the
day.
show, Roga?
It doesn't. I've arranged it.
Look at you. You're thinking ahead now.
Mathematically.
You're thinking ahead now. Look at you.
Mathematically arranged it so I can do the show at 8. And then our program start. It's like 11. It's an all-day program. Starts at 11. Hearing, chanting, singing, all that fun stuff. Go to Palo Santo's website, and I'm looking
Is
forward.
Damodar in town?
Damodar's in town.
Cool.
Yeah.
What is in town?
What if we're going to see Jeffrey Ackler there?
Oh, yeah.
Jeffrey Ackler. He's the new Philly guy in
Becker.
town. What if we're going to see Sherry Shobin-Shinsky? She's around that area.
Sobosinski.
Yeah.
Sobosinski.
We're going to see Jeffrey Earl Ill. We're going to see him there. He's in
Maybe. Possibility.
Jeff Winkowski. Anyway.
Kelly Becker's in that area, right? Kelly
Becker. Okay. I'm making a list, checking it twice if you're not going to be there. Anyway.
Lori Rubino.
Lori Rubino, she's there.
Rubino.
Any events in New Jersey, Alex BN says. If that's close to New Jersey, how much closer do you want to do how much closer to New Jersey? By the way, Alex BN's yes. I'm going
Kelly Becker's working.
Long Beach Island. I'm teaching in Long Beach Island, July 4th weekend.
How are you?
Anyway, I'm getting out there. I'm working it.
All right.
Can I share something with you?
As long as it's not too much of a
It's not. It's not. I just want you to know,
tangent.
yesterday's show was very, very, it was very exactly what I needed, Prabhu. And I tried to
too.
explain it, but we were running out of time. But
Okay.
you know, it's sort of a
About the letting-
open secret amongst those. But you know, I'm going through a divorce,
Yeah.
and it's Mara knows, and some of you knows, but it's one of those things. I won't get into the details of it, but yesterday's whole thing was very, very poignant to me, very relevant to me, that either we give up or they get taken away anyway. And the idea we were saying of giving up isn't necessarily you have to walk away from, but you give up in the heart that I can't own this stuff. And we were talking about yesterday about giving up our body, giving up our beauty, giving up our wealth. And it was just like pounding me in the head yesterday. I was like, yeah, I know that Krishna's got a plan for me. And I think that plan, as I'm entering this new phase of my life, I think it's a very deep plan. And I think the Bhagavatam has a lot to do with it. And I felt like, me and my wife, we were just getting on two different pages in our life. And I feel like now there's just parts of my ego and things that I thought were mine that are not longer mine.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a little confronting, truthfully. It's a little confronting. And so, and also the concept of a family unit. You know me, I've never, ever thought of, I've been married for 17 years. I thought this would never come up, really. So it has been a little shocking. Is my ego? I realize a lot of these other things are involved in my ego. My ego's involved. It's a little like humiliating. And we were saying yesterday, right? It's right. Part of it is being humiliated in the material world. The material world can humiliate us. And I was just like, So I
I mean,
appreciate.
I don't think this is a necessarily cause for your humiliation, but I think I understand what you're saying.
Well, you had your anniversary, and that's like, oh, he had his anniversary, and I'm a loser. I get it. I get that. I guess some of this weighs out. It is humiliating, and
But
yeah.
but it sounds like the Bhagavatam's giving you the goggles to see it through, to see you through this difficult time.
Well, yes, the Bhagavatam. It's why I've been doing a lot of Sweet Baby Krishnas. It's really forcing me to take shelter of the Bhagavatam more, because when you take shelter of anything else, it's not a firm grip, and the Bhagavatam has given me some light. It's make me realize, like, I'm not above any mishap. I'm not above some banging
Yeah,
my head on a door frame.
That's the message, right? Of Brahma. Here's Brahma, and even he, is humiliated, in such a way. But to feel that I'm not above, I need to take shelter, right? That's the message that comes through the story.
And I got it. I was in a lot of pain with my relationship, and when my wife asked for it, it was almost like a relief, and we felt like, and I have no animosity towards her, because I want her to be really happy with her choices in life, and I felt like, okay, Krishna's got a plan for me now, and I really went right to Krishna. The default of Krishna has a plan for me, but at the same time, when the dust settles, I'm just like, okay, children, family, holidays, what does this mean now? And just walking into the unknown, and walking into fear, and walking into easy to be resentment. That's why all that stuff came up for me yesterday. It's easy to be resentful. It's easy to be fearful. It's easy to be angry. It's easy to go to all those dark places that I'm conditioned to go anyway. And the Bhagavatam is helping me not go there. And I'm not always winning. I'm not always winning this one. I will say. As a matter of fact, I just stormed out of the house, and it pissed off the other day. And when I stormed off, my phone rang, and Radhanath Swami called me.
Well, that was that. Yeah.
Now I think I told you that, but now that's the context.
Filler
And it was everything I needed to hear. It was everything I
say?
needed.
Can you share some of that?
It was a little personal, but what I can share was this whole. He said, be incredibly loving in this, because going through these type of places, people can become, don't act on resentment, don't act on anger, don't act on fear, don't act on revenge. He said, give her all love. And that was like, I thought that was very beautiful. And he said, he goes, I know you've struggled, and I've always encouraged you to stay, and time would reveal. And he says, and now it's becoming very obvious, and you're going to cross over this river to the land of milk and honey, and Krishna's going to open it. He quoted something like Southern Baptist gospel song, and he said, and there's a door that's going to open for you, and you're not going to believe what's on the other side.
Wow.
I thought it was really sort of like sweet and encouraging, and he whenever I feel I go towards resentment, go towards anger, and go towards it's not fair, then what I do is I pray for the person. Like in this case, I pray that all success for them and stuff like that. But
it's interesting. I once had a position that I walked away from just because I was getting some certain pressure from certain people in certain ways, And right as I was in that point in my life, I was reading Ramayana. And it speaks about how Lord Ram walks away from Ayodhya, right? From that kingdom where he was about to be installed as the king, right? And he was so unfairly mischaracterized by his stepmother, who pushed this idea that he was the wrong person for this role, and he was ill-motivated, and everything had to be and so whereas like all the people wanted him, he was so qualified, he was so good-natured, and still he's being kicked out. And then when he left Ayodhya, it describes his mood, and it describes he did it without any resentment, without any bitterness, right? It's like he saw the arrangement that was made.
Sure.
He didn't, and just like this advice you're getting from Radha, to be entirely loving, particularly like, what's a more difficult, painful, awkward, circumstance than divorces. They can be so destructive.
They can be bitter for years.
Yeah, for years and years, and it obviously is destructive on the people who are going through it, for the families, for people connected. And so this advice that, hey, Raghunath, you tried for a very long time to make this marriage work. It wasn't easy. It came to the point where it ended, and you accepted that. But how now? But how do you go through it? Where there may be a temptation for anger or for bitterness or so on. And here comes this advice from a wise. This is why you need people like this in your life, right? From a person that's got wisdom, from a person who lives it, and says, okay, he didn't get like all puritanical with you or anything like that. But what he gave was this kind of wisdom, like, okay, you're going through this now. Do this in such a way where you won't further, make it more destructive, and where it can lead, towards a positive. So do it without any without any anger, without any resentment, without any business. Be fully loving. Most people aren't getting that advice when they go through something like this, and you're the kind of person that I know is like takes that to heart. And even when it may be challenging, you're going to hear that instruction and you're going to rise to it, and it's going to make something that's potentially very destructive. You'll get the best results will come out of it, I think.
There's always loss in the material world, and it comes either this way, it comes through death or disease, it comes through, the material world never quite has a pretty picture. As pretty as we try to make it, the material world never has quite a pretty picture. And the whole place the Bhagavatam is putting us to is go inside, get spiritually connected, and love as much as you can. Follow Dharma as much as you can. If you follow Dharma or have some integrity in this world, it will create less of less waves in the ocean. Mm-hmm. But it's still the ocean, and you're still out there in a little boat. And the best thing we can do is go deep and hold on to Krishna, and he will lead us out of this mess. But we're not going to escape it. Once you get a material body, we're not going to escape it. It's going to come. And the whole yogic process of getting to sattva, that is just like sort of calming the storm. But we're still out there in the ocean, and we're reaching out to Krishna to help us go inside, because ultimately we have to land this plane on our own. And so it's good to have a community there. It's good to have the Bhagavatam there. It's good to have teachers there. And then we have to apply this stuff. And so I just see Krishna saying, okay, Raghu, apply it. You got it now. Now apply it. And it's hard to apply. It's hard to apply because a lot of my defaults are going right to, it's humiliating to say, but a lot of stuff like resentment and why me and bitterness and all that stuff that just wants to come up. But it's almost like I said, we always use that analogy, like we're in the mob. We know too much. We know too much. We've been given too much information to go to resentment. We've been given too much information to go to revenge. Like I used to go to revenge all the time when I was in high school. I'm gonna kill that guy. That's just where I go to. I can't go there anymore. We know too much. This is the problem with studying these books. You know too much. You can't wear that same suit of clothes anymore. We can't go back to the 90s and wear those stovetop. What are they called, Justin? Jinko jeans. You can't go out with Jinko jeans anymore, people. It just won't look normal.
Well, you've got like a lifetime now of training too. Like even going back to your training as a monk, as a brahmachari, right? Where you learn, micro and macro. Like on the micro level, where you have to surrender and do something that's uncomfortable, but you embrace it and you come out the other end, uplifted. So like, there's part of your lower nature pulling on you right now, saying resentment, anger, it's justified, rationalize it, live it out, express it all. And then there's another part of you that's saying, I know that's hard to do, but I'm going to be better off for not going that way. So just like even like taking a cold shower, like we were trained like as monks, right? You wake up early. Just waking up early is like it's hard, taking a cold shower is hard, but then you get used to like, what, don't get mental about it. Just do it. And you just start to like, your life gets better. You learn how, it wasn't so bad. My mind just had me convinced that was so hard. And I think you're at a point in life where you've practiced it on the micro and you practice it on the macro level in these big events in life that are difficult and very challenging.
Yeah.
Particularly when you hear from a person who's such affection and love for and in whose wisdom you trust so much, that because you've cultivated that relationship, that along with that instruction comes the empowerment to carry out the instruction. Like it's built into it. It's and you can access it through your love and affection and genuine admiration for that person that gave you the instruction comes the empowerment to carry it out, even though it's challenging. And therefore these relationships are so important in our lives.
Whoo! Breathe.
Yeah.
Thank you, Kaustubha. I'm glad you're my friends.
Thank you for sharing. I had no idea you were
It's
going to break out with this
it-
information.
I wasn't going to break that out, but yesterday's class was just like, it was so loud in my head and it was just banging me in the head. I was just like, oh, I get it. It's one of those days when you open the book and there's a verse that you read and like, oh my God, that's the exact verse I needed today. I was like, that was the exact class. It was like, this is what you need today, Raghu. And I'm happy I'm here.
You're like a family guy by nature, And so I know this must be especially hard.
Yeah, it is especially hard. It's especially hard, but I also, I do have great faith in a plan for Krishna's plan.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Particularly when you have someone as prophetic as Ranaswami.
I know Raghunath he is one of those prophets.
Sometimes you just need someone too that's just saying like that can see the light at the end of the tunnel that you can't see when you're in that. I think I shared once on the show when you were interviewing me that maybe it wasn't on this, maybe it was another interview, but like when I was going through a big change in life and I said to my guru, it seems like both paths are dark. I have two choices and it seems like they're both dark. And he was able to show me how there's light on the end of either one. It's like, no, you just make your choice. But like, it's both, the future's bright in both directions,
Right.
Our minds get into so many negative loops and then that becomes prophetic, self-fulfilling prophecy, But in bhakti, the future is always bright.
Future's always bright. I really agree.
It's like there's no negative outcomes. Even the difficult things become periods of growth, and it's always going to a bright future,
There is no PMA in the material world. What's the positive mental attitude for a world of destruction? Why? How can you be positive? If you're living in a sandcastle and the tide's coming in, where is the positive mental attitude? That's called blindness or sticking your head in the sand. The real thing is there's positive mental attitude if I understand my eternality, if I understand that I'm here for growth, I'm here to evolve, and that there's a benevolent higher power.
Right.
That's where we go with this. And truthfully, I know in my own life, to the degree that I don't learn from my lessons, that I don't choose evolution, I choose de-evolution. To the degree that I realize, to the degree that I get stuck in this devolved thinking of it's not fair, why me, revenge, stuff like. I have to learn those lessons again and again and again. The lessons are going to keep coming unless I get over them. Imagine getting stuck in the revenge loop.
Yeah.
Horrible. People are there their whole life. That curmudgeon-y revenge loop. Come on.
Breaking out that word again.
Curmudgeon-y. True. Thanks for the message board. I'm getting a lot of love on the message board. I appreciate it. Poor, pathetic Raghunath. No, that's how I'm feeling. A little bit like that.
Well, you're doing good. We're here for you.
I know. I'm actually okay.
I see you stay engaged in service,
Thank God for the show. Thank God for sweet baby Krishna.
Yeah.
And thank God, I love what I do. I really love what I do. I'm excited to go to Philadelphia this weekend and just basically we hear and chant all weekend, and it brings me back to I'm happy. I get to go on pilgrimage. I'm happy. I was in Nepal, and where I was just hearing and chanting all the time. I'm happy people reach out to me sometime with their issues, and I get to the only way we get through this is to give back, and so that's part of the medicine, if not the medicine. If I sit around and worry about my own problems, my problems, there's always someone who's got a bigger problem than me anyway. It's like, get out of my stupid head and reach out and extend a hand to someone who's actually really struggling. And then you realize how little you are struggling. I'm sitting here on the porch the other day with Gopal Chandra, who's like suffering with cancer. And he's looking at it, and I was like, how are you doing, man? How are you doing? He was so beautiful. He just said to me, he goes, you know what? There's so many people suffering much worse than me. I was like, and I was like thinking how minimal my suffering is, and he's facing off with a really big challenge. But he was saying so many people are suffering more than me. I have this beautiful porch I'm sitting on. I'm looking at this beautiful scenic backdrop. I'm so fortunate. I'm like, where do you get a mind like that that's appreciating that?
He's a sage.
We're creating this sage mind. The Bhagavatam is creating sage minds. And expect to get challenged because you're loved. Because you're loved, expect to get challenged. If I don't challenge my kids, how loving of a parent will I be? You got to challenge them. Here, kids, eat candy all day. Thanks, Dad. It doesn't work. Papa Tony, challenge that daughter of yours. Challenge her, Papa Tony. Her life is too easy. Papa Tony on the show today, Mara?
I don't think he's here today.
I don't think he is.
He doesn't like the 8 a.m. time slot.
Oh, all right.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
Papa Tony.
Some people. Hey, why don't you write on the board right now if you hate 8 a.m. Write on the board right now.
Well, if they're here, then maybe it's not the best.
Well, I want to see what they. Oh, that's a good point. That's a good point.
We could do that.
All righty.
All right, you ready?
Yes.
All right, let's see what we can do today.
Let's dive in. We're in chapter 12, creation of the Kumars and others.
Yeah.
Of
Srimad
Canto
Bhagavatam,
3.
Canto 3, Chapter 12. We're in text 34. So we just went through Brahma's whole thing. We got over that. He let go of his body. He let it die. And he's ready to get creative again. So he can start to create a lot. I think you could just read a bunch of verses here, Raghu.
Okay.
Beginning with
Text
text 34. 34.
Once upon a time. I love when it starts like that. Once upon a time. I wonder what the Sanskrit for once upon a time
Want
is.
to find out?
No, I don't. But you can check.
Now that you said it.
Once upon a time when Brahma was
Kadachit.
Once upon a time when Brahma was thinking of how to create the worlds, as in the past millennium, the 4 Vedas, which contain all the varieties of knowledge, became manifest from his mouth. You see this picture a lot. Brahma sitting there and the 4 Vedas flowing from his mouth. Ever see that?
Well, there is a picture of all that's being described in these verses and how he's creating all
Different
these
things from his
body.
things.
And,
So the idea is that Veda or knowledge is eternal. He creates it in one sense, but it's eternal
kind of
knowledge.
reestablishing it more than exactly
He's reestablishing the Vedas.
recreating.
The 4 kinds of paraphernalia. Oh, I never thought of it like this. The 4 Vedas are coming from his 4 mouths.
1, 2, 3, 4. Just like when you do all this thing, like the yagna, the sacrifice
Yeah.
that are performed like in the fires, and they have 4 sides. They have 4 different priests. Each one is expert in one of the 4 different Vedas. Each one has a different responsibility for the proper performance of the sacrifice, the ritual.
Sure. The 4 kinds of paraphernalia for conducting the fire sacrifice became manifest. The performer, the chanter, the offerer, the fire, and the action performed in terms of the supplementary Vedas. Interesting. Also, the 4 principles of religiosity or dharma, which is truth, austerity, right? Austerity means pulling back the reins of the senses, mercy, extending yourself, and cleanliness. That's both externally in your body and internally in your mind.
That's right.
And the duties in the 4 social orders all became manifest as well.
Okay, so let's just slow it down for a second. Some creatures have been created in this world. Some progenitors have been created, and their duty is going to be to produce more progeny and populate the universe. But along with that is coming, is kind of the manual of how to live. But we could call it culture, and it's going to get more cultural as we go. But it's saying that first the Vedas come down. Right, and the Vedas are those books that are going to show us how to live in this world in a way where we can uplift ourselves, where we can find what we want, but still uplift ourselves.
By the way,
And
I
yeah.
apologize. I apologize.
Well,
Keep going.
and
You're
we-
flowing. You're flowing like the downstream river right now, and I'm damming it up.
You're a beaver.
You can call me Beaver for short.
So along with those Vedas come the rituals by which we can uplift ourselves. The different sacrifices, and then also it says the 4 principles of religiosity. How do that the values, that will uplift us, are being provided, and then it says the 4 social orders become manifest. So this is the social designations, the responsibilities that one can take according to their psychology. So things are being laid out now that are going to help us understand. Well, how are we meant to live here? How do we? It's such an interesting topic because there's a resistance, particularly in the modern, and particularly in the Western, and particularly in the American mindset, that doesn't want anyone to come and create order. We want freedom. We think.
Is that interesting?
Yeah.
It's an American mindset. We want freedom. Don't tell me what to do.
Don't tell me what to do. But the point is that it's kind of like, well, then all right, go ahead. Create your own culture or lack of, and see what happens. And that's why everyone's depressed. Everyone's taking pills. Everyone's, things are so broken in so many ways. So in any case, we can keep reading, but just for now, let's just focus on the idea that along with the population, there has to be some guidance. And the guidance is coming in these different ways.
Now, there's another interesting thing too. And that's when in Vedic thought, Vedic teaching, we'll get into Vedic medicine, warfare, architecture.
Music.
They're considered descending sciences. Isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
Descending sciences. They're not created. They're descending, meaning they were created from higher sources and then descending down to a lower source, handed down. And we're trying to apply them. You get that from Ayurvedic medicine. It's like, where do you get these things from? Where do you get things like palmistry, astrology, acupuncture? Where do you learn this stuff?
Sages hand them down.
Sages hand them down. You don't just make up acupuncture. Come on.
You experiment a lot.
Experiment. I put a needle here. I put a needle in 10,000 places, and it affects the liver. After 9,000, I realized this must affect my liver. Yeah, this stuff is beyond human figuring stuff out. Okay. The pranas. Yeah. Okay.
Right.
He also created medical science. Here we go. He also created medical science.
Hold on. Did you skip one? Maybe you didn't.
No, I did. 37.
Yeah,
Maitreya said.
Yeah.
36.
Vidura
I skipped 2.
Yeah.
Vidura said, "Oh, great sage, only wealth is penance."
No, O sage, whose only wealth is penance. Okay.
Only that made no sense. Only wealth is penance. Oh, great! This is how people distort sacred literature, right? You got people like
we're trying to hand it down.
People like me reading it. It's like the telephone game. Oh, great sage, whose only wealth is penance, kindly explain to me how and with whose help Brahma established Vedic knowledge, which emanated from his mouth.
And actually, that's such a nice compliment, right? Because here's Maitreya. He's a sage in the forest. He doesn't have money. Right? He doesn't have any possessions, any other kind of material opulences, because he's so satisfied with his internal state, right? And because he's satisfied internally, even externally, he's performing penance. He sleeps on the ground. He sits for hours in meditation and so on. It's a way of great praise, saying like, you're not like the rest of us who think we need so many things. You've got deep spiritual, experience, internal experience, and therefore your only wealth is penance. Let me hear from you, because with that depth, surely you have deep insights. Okay. Maitreya said.
Yes, Maitreya said, beginning from the front of the face of Brahma, gradually the four Vedas, Rik, Yajur, Sama, and Atharva, became manifest. Thereafter, Vedic hymns, which had not been pronounced before, priestly rituals, the subject matters of the recitation, and transcendental activities were all established one after another. He also created the medicinal science, military art, musical art, architectural science, hot yoga. Just kidding.
Goat yoga.
Goat yoga was then created from the Vedas. They all emanated one after another, beginning from the front face.
Okay, this is interesting, right? Like all of these things, like the understanding is people will need these. Let's provide these sciences for people: medical science, military science, musical, architectural science, right? All of this is being handed down, and they still exist to this day.
They still exist, in some forms or another. I will say that I got to hand it to people from the West, because what they've done is in the pursuit of their spiritual life, they've gone east and excavated a lot of these great sciences that were like getting covered over with weeds, just like. Sometimes you'll find an old temple or an old structure so covered over in the jungle. They find this in the Amazon. They find like things in the Amazon, pyramids in Guatemala that were just covered over. And you got to dig these things out. And a lot of Westerners have gone to India, excavated dance, excavated Ayurveda, excavated
music.
Ragas, the study of ragas.
Architecture.
Yeah, because it's not because, and there's still people in India that value these, but it was like becoming like a dying language. Why? Because the West has so much of a billboard. Hey, check out what we got to offer, and so India's like, yeah, what are we doing over here with these old things? We got to find something new. So that's not to discredit India in any way. What's to discredit is materialism, and it's a lack of appreciation for these ancient cultures. Right. And so I think with that big appreciation from a lot of people from the West, Indians themselves in the last 20 years, you and I have witnessed, they've said, yeah, actually, I'm standing something. I'm in part of a tradition that is incredibly valuable.
Right.
We're like digging up the treasures. It's the treasure chest, Prabhu.
Maybe none more so than the medical science, right?
Oh, my God. Right?
Yeah. Like Ayurveda, it's when you find someone that really understands it, it becomes so beneficial. And, the Western mind is also not necessarily well suited for it because it's largely preventative, right? It's like, hey, make some changes in your lifestyle and you'll be healthy, and we're like, I don't want to do that. Give me a pill.
Give me a pill. We've lost a responsibility with our health.
Yeah.
And we just want a pill to make things go away. I don't want to change the way I live. I don't want to change what I eat. I don't want to change my fast food. I don't want to fast on a regular basis. I don't want to move my body. I want a pill to make my pain go away. Yeah. And that's sort of like, I think I'm not against allopathy. I have an older son that would have died. He's type 1 diabetic without allopathy. But at the same time, I don't want to relinquish my personal responsibility for my health, and that's important.
Yeah, but although even saying that, the circumstances that created whatever his malady may have been prevented if we were living according to another lifestyle.
Yeah, no one knows. No one knows really. About
maybe some people know.
Maybe some people do know.
Yeah, right. Just because you don't know. But it's just also tied together. The more that you contemplate this, the more that you see how all the pieces fit together. But just take Ayurveda, and compare the traditional Vedic idea of medicine and the whole cultural context in which it existed, as compared to the modern Western idea of medicine and the cultural context in which it exists. Now, right, like if you take the Vedic one, it's existing within a culture that it's a lot of stuff that may rub us wrong. Like, for instance, it's existing within a culture of like respect for elders, right? It's like there's this doctor, and he's respected. He lives in the village, right? And he's got all this Ayurvedic knowledge. And how does he spend his time? He's kind of like wandering around in the woods. He's picking out herbs, you know. Then you come to see him, he takes your pulse, and then he tells you what your ailment is, and he can tell that just from taking your pulse. And he's telling you your symptoms before you told them to him, because he just felt your pulse, and he's indicating to you he's right on it. He knows what the problem is. Your faith grows, you know. Then he prescribes some herbs to take, but he also says, you know, you gotta start to go to sleep earlier. You know that, you know, right there. You know, I was just hearing someone was telling me that I think it was my wife telling me that this one prominent Ayurvedic teacher, was it in India or in America, was just saying, like, look, I'm not going to take any patients on who will not promise to go to sleep early, because that's right there is your like fundamental problem. You know, like people have these like crazy lifestyles. You know, we're meant to go to sleep early. It's just like it's within a culture. You know, like where the diet was you know, there was a specific diet, there's a specific lifestyle. It was all very natural. We want other things. We want cars, we want automobiles, we want smartphones, we want all these things. We want democracy in a certain way, you know. And what it leads to is like where the medical industry gets usurped, or let's say the medical industry usurps the role of the healer. And that means it's usurped by people that are really interested in making money. Whereas like that guy, that doctor sitting in the Vedic village, he's got no interest in money actually, right?
I mean, we've met doctors.
It doesn't motivate
like this.
him.
We've met these Ayurvedic masters in India.
Yeah.
You know, and most of them just go by donation.
I
knew an Ayurvedic doctor who he was MD also from Bombay, famous guy, famous one, and he wanted to learn Ayurveda. And the Ayurvedic teacher he was saying was one of these forest dwellers, and he would not teach him unless no illicit connections with women, no intoxications. You can't take any. You want to be my student of Ayurveda? No intoxicants. We want to drive recklessly on the car with our car. We want to drive recklessly down the highway, and we don't want any scratches. Come on.
Yeah, right. Right. And it's not just one decision, it's a series of decisions all moving in one direction that keep increasing and snowballing in ways that in the end you end up with a crazy society. And it's just getting where you end, in other words, just sticking with medical for now. You know, what happens is that an industry of people, of men that want to make money, see it as an opportunity to make money, right? And so now they're setting super high prices on medicines, and they're creating all kind of conditions that aren't really most beneficial for the patient. Like, for instance, you know, that dynamic develops where like, well, hey, as long as people stay sick, we keep making money, right?
It's a disease.
It's
a disease business.
You need a person in that role that's not interested in money, but that has a really sincere interest in serving. But in order to do that, you need an entire culture that's glorifying service. Otherwise, you're not going to find too many people that are fully embracing that idea. And so now you got this guy. You know, he's more qualified than practically anyone in the village in terms of his knowledge, right? He's like someone that's in a sense gone to his own medical school and gotten his degrees. But he never saw that as a way. Like, why do people become doctors? You know, in the Western world, certainly, I'm not claiming that there's no people that aren't doing it to help people. Especially, I see that among nurses, right?
Sure.
But people become doctors because they want to make a lot of money. Right?
Not all. You can't.
I'm not saying all, but I'm saying, but that's like a very important. Yeah, like, why do parents want their children
to become doctors, lawyers, IT people? You know. That's what it was when I was growing up. That was the idea. My son is a doctor.
Right. And what to speak of like people in the medical industry that aren't doctors, that own or run hospitals or that run pharmaceutical companies. They don't. It's not necessarily coming from a place of like, I'm willing to live simply. My happiness is coming from my sense of service, and I don't need a lot of money. Right. So you get all kind of dynamics that come into play that become very destructive. Even our medicines are destructive. And that's the beautiful thing about Ayurveda is that, with Western medicines, because it's coming from a Rajasic point of view, ultimately it leads, it crashes. And so even our medicines often are more destructive than even the disease itself. Often a trip to the hospital is what kills you, And so
I think it's the number 3 killer.
going to a hospital.
Taking either surgeries or medical or drugs that have been prescribed and have been recommended. Can someone pull me up a sad fact? If someone knows, I think it's the number 3 killer, where you do what you're told to do and you die.
Yeah.
It's not like you've been, I'm taking these pills that have been I found in the closet. Maybe my dad was taking them. It's actually you're taking prescription medication or some surgery gone awry, and it's a killer. If someone could pull that up, some fact check, so I'm not just talking out of my anus. Okay, let's go on with this, though, because this is a whole thing.
It's an important thing.
It's an important thing.
Yeah, I mean, this is how it ties into what we're reading. And we're going to read more of it tomorrow, and I think we can discuss culture in more depth tomorrow. But the idea here is that the original creator, who's creating out of a sense of love and service, is also providing a culture, by which people can live. Now, if you look at the Bhagavad Gita, right in the 3rd chapter, it says, along with, the creation of all the different... I'll pull it up in just 1 second.
By the way,
yeah,
my father died this way as well. My father died of medical malpractice in the hospital.
Really?
Yeah, he was, and it was covered up, and we discovered it later. And yeah, it was neglect.
Right. Yeah, I mean, and that also happens anyway. There's always mistakes. People can always make mistakes.
Yeah,
you create a circumstance where it becomes more like where the mood of care is removed from the equation, or let's say reduced in the equation.
By the way, I want to put it out there. I want to put it out there. My son just broke his legs, and I'm grateful that they've got what they've got in the hospital, and the people that were taking care of my son were great. I'm not putting it out there, but there's got to be a balance. Again, I said my older son, he type 1 diabetic. He would have been dead at age 9. So I'm not against it. But I think there's got to be some type of balance. And I think the allopathic side cannot write off that there's got to be full spectrum health. Mm-hmm. And we've got to take other things into consideration, and diet, lifestyle are very real considerations. This whole pandemic, no one's talking about breathing or immune system practically. You don't see bulletin boards or placards or, hey, have you been breathing today? Hey, have you been fasting today? Hey, are you still eating junk food? No, have you stopped drinking? No one's talking about that. They'll cover yourself with these antibacterial gels, but no one's talking about taking care of your immune system, which is like public information. It's pseudoscience, your immune system.
Right.
Come on.
Right. So in the Bhagavad Gita 3rd chapter, text 10, it says, in the beginning of creation, right? That's what we're here in the Bhagavatam. It said, the Lord of all creatures sent forth generations of men and demigods, along with sacrifices for Vishnu, right? So the culture, the rituals, and so on are also being provided. And bless them by saying, be happy with this sacrifice, with this ritual, because its performance will bestow upon you everything desirable for living happily and achieving liberation, right? So Brahma is like, he's giving people a way where they can live happily and they can move towards liberation through it. Our tendency is, don't tell me the rules. Don't, I'm going to figure things out myself. I don't want what you have. But watch where it leads in the end, and watch where it's leading in the world right now. It's leading to pandemics. It's leading to destruction of the earth. It's leading to, brokenness on so many different levels. And so we live in a crazy world. This ancient wisdom and culture is foreign to us and alien to us. And I'm not even implying that we should just everyone should adopt it all 100% immediately. But what we can do individually and to some degree collectively is we can draw from that wisdom and we can apply it in ways that we feel will be most effective in this world. And that's really the art of practicing spirituality in the modern day in the Western world, right? It's like
We don't have a Vedic world, right?
we don't have a Vedic world. Let's take what we can and let's plug it in as best we can. And I think as we read tomorrow, we'll go more into that and we'll see ways that we might be able to do that.
It's hard applying this stuff in so many different, and this is why we need communities and we need teachers and we need friends, because you want to apply the essential teachings, but there's so many moving factors. There's a reason why there's very high standards and high, what's the word, guardrails, boundaries in India, because they protect and they keep the social order sane. So you don't want to be an extremist in America. We're trying to be a little bit broad-minded, but whenever you lower it, you got to watch out.
You
pay when you lower it. And that's where we're going. What's the big deal if you do a little bit of this? Nothing's a big deal. Like, what's the big deal if I drive my car on the edge of the cliff? It's not. If you're on the edge of the cliff, you're still not off the cliff. It's if you go off another inch, then you're off the cliff.
Okay.
Huh?
Thank you.
Oh, did the music already start?
Yeah, we're going.
Oh, man. Mara, what's our takeaways? I'm sorry if I bummed everybody out on this show today. I apologize.
No, you didn't.
And I apologize if maybe I should keep these things private.
I think everyone appreciates you sharing, Raghu.
Yeah.
Don't act on resentment, anger, fear, or revenge.
Oh, big one.
Embrace the humiliation. In Bhakti, the future is always bright.
Always.
There you go.
Through respect and love for our teacher comes the empowerment to carry out their orders.
Nice.
We know too much. Don't act on our defaults.
We're in the mob. We know too much.
Expect to get challenged because you are loved.
Expect to get challenged because you are loved. And don't act on your defaults unless you have good defaults. You might have good defaults. Don't act on. How about don't act on Raghunath's defaults?
And the only way to get through it is to give back.
Nice. Thank you, Mara.
Thank you, Mara. Thank you, everybody here. Thanks for listening. Thanks for hearing me out today. And thanks to everybody for applying this to their life, making the world a little bit better of a place for yourself and the people that you love. Super grateful for this community. Bhakti Recovery Group today. At what time?
Noon. And then there's also Rich Mancuso is teaching Kundalini yoga tonight at 6 p.m. for Patreon members.
Love him. Thanks, everybody. It's a beautiful day. For a beautiful day, keep dancing. Come on, Bhakti Jack.